Hello, Bearcats. In today's lesson, we're going to solve equations by factoring, square root property, completing the square, and quadratic formula. All of these are reviewed skills from last year, but we're going to just go ahead and review them just to refresh your memory. Let's start by factoring. We have an equation here, our quadratic here, and we're going to solve by factoring. We would need to set it equal to 0, put it in general form. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to come over here, and we're going to have 2x squared plus 9x, and we would subtract the 3, so plus 4 equals 0. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a method, I call it slip and divide. We're going to slip the 2 out of our problem over here by the 4, and we're going to multiply the 4 by 2. So that would leave us x squared plus 9x plus 8 equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and draw an arrow down here and not to forget to divide by 2. Sometimes it's easy to forget that step. Alright, so go ahead and do your simple factoring here. We would have x and x. Multiply to a, add to 9 would be a 1 and an 8, both positive. And then this is where we need to divide our 2 back in. We have to divide both of the constants by 2, giving us x plus 1/2 and x plus 4, of course equal to 0. Each factor set equal to 0 gives us solutions, or roots, or x-intercepts of negative 1/2 and negative 4. All right, go Bearcats. Please practice this and have this in your notes for your warm-up. Our next property to review is square root property. If we have a binomial squared and we're not trying to expand it, but we're actually trying to solve for x, we really don't want to use the shortcut in this case. We're going to go ahead and just square root to get rid of our square, and then all of a sudden we're going to square root the other side, which did not have any square or square root in it. So we were the artist, you'll have to put a plus or minus there. So all of a sudden you will end up with x minus 3 equals positive or negative square roots of 7. We're going to add 3 to get rid of the 3 to solve for x. We're going to sneak it in front, and we would have x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 7. And I'm fine you leaving it that way. Make sure that you clearly know that that is 2 answers. 3 plus the square root of 7 and 3 minus the square root of 7. Those would be your roots or zeros or x-intercepts. All right, let's move on to completing the square. All right, here we have an equation where we're going to complete the square. Of course, it's a little more complicated when there's this coefficient in front. We're going to simplify that right off the bat. We're going to go ahead and first, though, move our constant to the right. That's our first step in completing the square. That leaves us with 3x squared minus 4x equals 5. Then to clear out that coefficient, we're going to go ahead and just divide everything by 3. So we'll divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. All right, so in this case, that gets us here. I'm going to move over just to give myself a little more room. So we have x squared minus 4/3 x, and now we can say plus blank equals 5/3 plus blank. I think this is a little bit simpler way to do it than maybe you have been taught in the past. All right, now we're going to go ahead and create our binomial squared. So we're going to bring down the x, we're going to bring down the subtraction, and we're going to take half of 4/3. Well, half of 4/3, if you divide 4/3 by 2, it's the same as multiplying by 1/2, which would give you 4/6, which would reduce to 2/3. And I'm just doing that up here to make our math a little simpler. So I'm going to make this 2/3. You may want to pause and make sure you really understand what we did right here. I have to square this term to put it in the blank. So 2 squared is 4 and 3 squared is 9. So 4/9 goes in both blanks. Now, I've got to add this side together. I'm going to change my 5/3 to 9ths so I can have a common denominator. So this one's 4/9. Well, 3 goes into 9, 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, so 5 times 3 is 15. Make sure that you're clear on that. So now we have x minus 2/3 squared equals 19/9. Now we're going to go back and use our square root property like we did a while ago. There's a little twist to it, so pay careful attention. If I've gone a little quickly here, go back and pause from time to time and make sure you understand what we did in each step. You will have a warm-up over this, and I'm sure this will appear on your test. So we'll square root. And on this side, I'm going to have to be an artist and add plus or minus, but I'm going to square root the top and the bottom separate. On this side, I get rid of the square, so I have x minus 2/3. And on this side, I'm going to put my plus or minus, and the square root of 19, I can't simplify, but the square root of 9 is just 3. And that made that problem a whole lot simpler where we don't have to rationalize our denominator. We would, of course, add our 2/3 and sneak it in front, and your x values would be x equals 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 19/3. You could leave it like that, or you could write it separately as 2 plus the square root of 19 over 3 and 2 minus the square root of 19 over 3. And those would be your two solutions. All right. Again, that's a little more complicated and really, really important to pre-cal and in the future, except that when you get to calculus, they won't teach it to you again. You need to know it, so keep your notes. All right. Last one will be the quadratic formula. All right, the quadratic formula. I've written the formula up here. It is something that you should just know. This should be part of your repertoire, your toolbox for math by now. The quadratic formula is something that you should really just have committed to memory. First thing we're going to do, again, like we did before, is put this in general form and set it equal to 0. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 9 equals 0. And then we're going to identify our a, b, and our c. Our a in this case would be 1. Our b would be 3, and our c is a negative 9. And I still do this. Then we're going to plug it right on into our equation. So we have negative b, which would be a negative 3. So this is all x equals. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared. 3 squared is 9. I go ahead and square it before I put it in there just so I don't run across any negative issues. Minus 4 times a times c. And I go ahead and write that out all over 2 times a. Next thing I do is I simplify and make it negative 3 plus or minus the square root of something. I don't know what that is yet. 2 times 1 is 2. I do the easy part first. Now, this is a negative 4 and a negative 9. So 4 times 9 is positive 36 times 1 is positive 36. So usually I go up here and just go, that's going to be a plus 36. Be really careful. If you have a negative in one of your variables and you're subtracting, you're automatically going to get a positive. Well, 36 and 9 would be 45. And now we need to go ahead and simplify our radical. So I'm going to go over here to the side and do that as well. So 45, and I'm going to do that little prime factorization. We've talked about that before. Divide by 3 is 15. Divide by 3 is 5. Ooh, look, I have a pair of 3s. That will come out of the house, and the 5 will stay home. So this now is equal to negative 3 plus or minus 3 square roots of 5 all over 2. And you could leave it like that, or we can give both of our x-intercepts, or our roots, or our solutions by saying negative 3 plus 3 square roots of 5 over 2, and negative 3 minus 3 square roots of 5 over 2. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye, Bearcats.